Ever found yourself in a discussion that feels like chasing your tail, going around in circles without making any real progress? You might have been caught in a circular argument. These are flaws in logic, a sort of trap that keeps you looping endlessly. Imagine trying to prove something by using the very thing you're trying to prove as evidence. It's like saying X is true because Y is true, and Y is true because X is true. There's no independent support for the claim, making it unconvincing. Let's consider an example. Students should be required to wear uniforms in school because uniforms create a more disciplined learning environment, and a disciplined learning environment leads to better student performance. This argument circles back on itself, and the link between uniforms and discipline isn't established with any evidence beyond the initial claim. Circular arguments can be subtle and sometimes hard to spot, but they can undermine the strength of any discussion. Let's dive into an example to illustrate this concept. Consider the statement, students should be required to wear uniforms in school because uniforms create a more disciplined learning environment. This is the claim and the reason. But there's an unspoken assumption here, that a disciplined learning environment leads to better student performance. Now, to further justify this, one might say, since uniforms create a disciplined environment, they naturally lead to better student performance. Here we're referring back to the initial reason and the unspoken assumption, but wait a minute. We're going in circles. We're saying that uniforms are good because they create discipline, which leads to better performance. But we're using the very benefit we're trying to prove, discipline leading to performance, as the reason. This is a classic example of a circular argument. In this example, the supposed benefit of uniforms is used to justify requiring them, but the link between uniforms and discipline isn't established with any evidence beyond the initial claim. So why is it important to identify circular arguments? Let's recap. Circular arguments, also known as circular reasoning, are like a dog chasing its tail. They start with a conclusion and attempt to justify it with reasons that rely on the very conclusion itself. It's a self-referential loop that leads nowhere and provides no solid ground for the claim being made. Think about it. If we say X is true because Y is true, and Y is true because X is true, we're not offering any independent support for our claim. We're just going around in circles. This is a key weakness in any discussion because it doesn't provide a convincing case for the point being argued. That's why it's crucial to identify and avoid circular arguments. They keep us stuck in repetitive loops and prevent us from building arguments on sound reasoning and independent evidence. By identifying circular arguments, you can avoid getting stuck in repetitive loops and ensure your arguments are based on sound reasoning and independent evidence. Remember, good arguments don't go in circles. They lead somewhere.